Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Happy to have you, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to invest in learning more about data protection. Today, our title of our webinar is Leave Your Creative Data to Chance, Not a Chance. So without further ado, let's start. So let me just start with telling you a bit about who I am and why I'm here talking to you about data protection. So I've been a Mac user since about 1995. Big passion for Apple technology and workstations in the workplace. I currently own and am the CEO of Support My Mac. I've had a long history of dealing with Apple workstations, even going back to the days of 10.3. My interests really lie in helping organizations deploy Macs, support them, and really integrate them well, and really get the best out of their Apple investment. My goal as a company is really to become the best Apple support team in Canada. A bit about myself: I really enjoy photography, and yeah, that's about it. So, from a Support My Mac perspective, I'm sure you're wondering who we are. So we're basically an Apple consulting and support company. We are located in Ottawa, Canada. Our main goal is really to help companies and organizations succeed with Apple. We have offices in Ottawa, Kingston, and also satellite offices in Montreal and Toronto. We've been in business since 2006, so it's 11 years in business already. Time flies. We're also very involved in different supporting different government departments and agencies, as we're also an authorized vendor on the Public Works Pro Services list. Our team obtains and maintains their Apple certifications and also clearances from a government standpoint. Our clientele in the government, as you see on the slide, varies from public Crown Corp organizations to National Defense, Transport Canada, ESEC, and so on. Today's presentation, as you've probably seen in the past, we've identified 7 technical essentials that we believe creative services teams need to master in their environments. And I'll just give you a quick run through these 7 right now. The first one being file sharing and collaboration. Basically, we want to facilitate the collaboration of different people on one project so that people don't encounter version issues and can really collaborate easily. As typical government departments don't have the high bandwidth networks that file sharing requires. Second point that we believe is the data protection, obviously, what we're here to talk about today. So data created, represents a lot of man hours, so we want to make sure we control those files so we don't lose them. Going on, remote access is just allowing people to work on the go from home, enabling that mobile workforce. Project management as well is important for creative services teams, making sure they can track multiple projects and track related tasks, deadlines, etc. Digital asset management. As time goes on, your department probably has collected thousands of images, corporate assets, and you need to be able to capture those, store those, find them through keywords, etc. Moving on, font management, same thing. So making sure all your workers have all access to the same fonts, no licensing issues, and no font mismatch and things like that. And then finally, maintenance and support, ensuring that your team is protected from a support standpoint, looking at ongoing maintenance, hardware repairs, hardware replacements, network support, etc. But today, if you'd like more information about these 7 technical essentials, we've actually produced a free white paper that you can download at sportmac.ca/GOC for English and /GDC in French. We'll be sending in those links after the webinar and also reviewing them again. But today, we do realize there's 7 technical essentials, but today our focus will be on data protection. And we're happy to cover an overview of data protection, what that means, really how to mitigate risk of losing your creative files and projects, and potentially losing the investment of time. And we'll have a Q&A session after the webinar, in the webinar, but after the overview session. So make sure you have questions for the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sean Costello, who is our backup expert. So Sean has a long history of providing backup and Apple support in the National Capital Region. He's got about 24 years of experience in that field. His expertise really lies in protecting data of work groups of all sizes, small, medium, large, to make sure that when failure is not an option, we can get the files back. So Sean spends a lot of time in analyzing, reviewing high-performance teams such as NASA, SpaceX, to see what they do in their best practices to make sure that when they need to succeed, they can. Also an architect of multiple solutions we've deployed, as you see on this slide. So Sean, without further ado.
Thank you very much, Sam. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'd like to jump in first off with the concept that we're not here to speak about backup. We're actually here to speak about a future restore. And it's with that assumption that we're going to just chat about a couple principles that I've learned over the 20 some odd years that I've been exposed to watching people unfortunately be separated from their data. So awareness is key. Awareness of where your data is being created, where is it actually at rest, where does it move, and what's going to be necessary during a recovery. Give some thought to what you would be, as an organization and as an individual, willing to lose. Lose as far as productivity, lose as far as time. Most importantly, though, in the creative space, you may lose unique creations, and this could be from an illustration perspective, it could be from an animation perspective. I have at times experienced the frustration of a creative who is not able to find the right energy to recreate something after it's lost. So even though they have a print sample of what the item was, what they don't have is the energy to recreate it. It's just lost. So just be aware of what that cost might be. Then ensure that you create a procedure, document it, and execute it regularly. Now, a lot of people say we actually don't need data protection plan, we don't need test restores. We invested in a RAID. We could have just bought regular hard drives, but we want to take care of our data, so that's our backup. And it's true that a RAID does present a stronger position to operate from. And for those not familiar, a RAID is a redundant array of independent disks. Now, one of the attractions is cost. So some people say the I is for inexpensive disks. And it's true that RAID does bring your level to a higher level of resiliency, but that resiliency is against media failure. So if you were to suffer a drive loss, you would be able to recover from that. But it does not help you when, for instance, a coworker believes that your working folder is actually an older directory and overwrites it, or that there's a CryptoLocker threat that comes across the network. So RAID is not multi-location. It is also very hard to make it so, and usually involves sneakernet, the act of carrying drives from one location to the other. And I wouldn't suggest that that's your best route forward. So to consider what you should be doing, perhaps, it comes in a value calculation. So give consideration to what the cost of the human potential is, the resources involved in both creating and in protecting the data. When you're assessing that as an organization, you should also take into account, if you're in a workgroup environment, there may not be an equal level of skill, competence, awareness, or even frankly dedication to ensuring data integrity. That has a cost that you'll not see until after the data separation event. So give some consideration to that. And even if financially speaking, cost appears to not be the issue, just make sure that your data is going to be there when you expect it. Next up, we have the idea of, oh, sorry, little slide error there. Time machine. So Time Machine is built into every Mac, of course, and it's a fantastic product. It's very tightly integrated to the operating system, and that facilitates very easy restores. But of its limitations, it's limited to that Mac. And when you're working in a group environment, one of our case study organizations, of course, is the Creative Services Group in Canada Post. They have 24 and more people collaborating on files and workstations. And while there is a goal to ensure that data is always available, it needs to be reported on and tracked at a workgroup level. And Time Machine offers no workgroup capacity. There's also other software products such as Carbon Copy Cloner or Synchro tools that will allow you to automate essentially the drag and drop simplicity of making another copy of a file. But the key point I want folks on the webinar today to take away is that setting it up is not the end of the task. In fact, that's just the beginning. Ongoing management, monitoring, reporting, that's what shows you what's working, but more importantly, what's not working as intended. And this is where having a more robust workgroup focused tool and procedure is going to assist. Ensure that, in summary, you give consideration through to the obvious point that the tasks here aren't complicated. Arranging a second copy of your data to exist isn't difficult to do. As creatives using Macs, we already know that you're strong, capable, technical users. So this is all something you could do. But the question is, do you believe you're the best person to do it? Or is someone else on your team going to take interest in your data the way you would if it's in their hands to execute it? So the key to successful future restores, and I'll close with the same words that I opened with, that it is about the restore. The key to that is ensuring that whatever plans have been put in place, that they are regularly tested and that they are documented so that they can survive the team shifting, as it naturally will, with some people coming and some people going. Thank you very much, Sam, for the opportunity to share this quick overview. Of course, with our time in business, we have many other people that we've been able to assist, but I want to be very succinct in today's time ask. So if there are questions within the webinar tool, you have the ability to raise a hand and or use the chat window. I'd love to answer any specific questions. You can please type that in over the next couple of moments, or of course come back and query Sam and his team at a later time as well. Well, first one, we have mobile workers who aren't in the office working on the server. So in that case, we have, of course, the ability for people. So first off, I want to acknowledge the drag and drop methodology of just issuing them a USB drive and having them I'll just say self-medicate, having them take care of the concern by drag and drop is an initial step that can be taken. And that does allow for there to be a second copy on a second piece of media, which is an important point. You don't just want to back up to the same hard drive into a different folder. If that drive fails, you'll find yourself in quite a pickle. So you want there to be ideally 3 copies of the files on at least 2 pieces of media in multiple locations. So that should be your target definition. So for people that are working offsite, if you're not prepared to fully empower and expect them to be able to recover their data in the future, using a product or a service that allows for remote, secure protection, that's certainly possible. Ensure encryption is taken into consideration because you do not want Crown information being passed between locations unencrypted. And do be mindful that the terms of service for commercial file sharing platforms are generally not anywhere near to the level, and in fact, with respect to Government of Canada operations, are not permitted. They're not authorized destinations. So if someone is setting this up from home or from a home office, be mindful that there may be technical capabilities that are policy-wise in contravention. So I hope that answered that sufficiently. Sam, any other points coming in?
No, nothing coming. Let me just have a look here.
Well, that's grand. We did, of course, have some amount of attendees that popped on a little midway through. So this webinar is being recorded. We'll make it available. If you joined us late, you'll be able to access this. We'll provide the link and ensure that you have every opportunity to take in the beginning as well as the end. Sam, do you have anything else?
We do have a question that just came in. Someone is asking, particularly to their situation where they are spread out over different physical locations and some people work from home.
So that's a mix similar to the initial question, but this introduces multiple locations and not just a single remote user. So in that case, I would say one of the solutions that we have used in our customer base is to have dedicated secure appliances. And I'll use the term appliance just it's a simple, very small, discrete piece of hardware that can sit in the workgroup office. It doesn't need a full server room or anything like that. And if there are co-located organizations where you're in different buildings, by having one of these appliances that can store your data encrypted in the local area, but then it can also be used to send it back to the main office, whether that's Place de Portage or one of the other local NCR offices, or if there's out of region property as well. As far as home-based users, one of the products that we offer is a service which will work on Mac, Windows, or even Linux workstations and servers, and it will allow for the secure encryption of the data and very efficient by way of incremental. So if you are working on, for instance, a 30 meg illustration file, and you want to save changes every number of minutes, well, it doesn't have to back up all 30 megs every single time. It's very intelligent, and it will only encrypt and transmit the net differences between the file. So this allows you, rather than say if you were to do your backup once a day, by way of script or automation. Here, using a system such as our continuous backup, it allows you to roll back, say, an hour or 2 hours or 6 hours earlier in the day to pick up revisions. Much stronger level of flexibility than just a daily run. I hope that, and the beauty of our questions, of course, is that they do have the ability to submit them anonymously. And so I thank that asker, and please let us know if we answered that question. Okay, Sam, I'll hand it back to you.
Great, thank you, Sean. Thank you guys for being so attentive so far. I want to just run a quick poll just to get some feedback, because we realize that this is the first webinar of probably many that will pertain to the 7 technical essentials. Today's was very focused on data protection, and that's just perhaps a tip of the iceberg when it comes to talking about it. So I'd like to just run a poll right now, if that's okay, guys. I'm going to launch it. Basically just asking you guys if you got value out of today's webinar, if you'd like to be informed about future webinars, and also if you require more information. If anybody has, a specific question about the topic we covered today or something we didn't cover, we'd be happy to set up a follow-up call with you. If I just look here at my slide, there we go. So you can email us at hello@supportmymac.ca, or just call us at 1-844-403-MAX. And we'd be happy to schedule a call with Sean and myself to look at your environment and see what recommendations we can provide free of charge. Also, I mentioned initially in our webinar that we had produced a white paper specifically for you guys in the creative services team in the federal government. So feel free to head over to the links on the screen here for an English or French copy and benefit from a bit more knowledge. Just looking if there's any other question that came in. Thanks, guys, for filling out the poll. Very appreciated. One thing I forgot to mention is all of our services are also available in French. Nous avons également tous nos services en français, donc ça nous ferait plaisir de communiquer avec vous dans la langue de votre choix. De plus, nous aurons le webinaire qui sera disponible en version francophone si nécessaire. Donc, merci encore à tous qui ont participé aujourd'hui. Et puis, thanks a lot to everyone who joined in on our first webinar on data protection. And we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.